Good evening. I'm Jesse Agel, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Jesse Basketball. Tonight we're going to talk about learning how to maximize your time in the prep school AAU scene, as well as your open gyms. But before we get going, I'm going to hand it over to Coach S, and she's going to walk you through some things so you can ask questions, listen better, see better, and enjoy your time. Coach
Great.
S.
Thanks, Coach. Just want to give everyone a few tips on using the GoToWebinar tools tonight. First, if you don't see the full GoToWebinar control panel, you should see a little strip of controls that we have the big red arrow pointing to. So just click on that little orange box with the arrow in it, and that will open up the full control panel for GoToWebinar. And if you need to adjust your screen, we do have Coach Jesse on a webcam tonight. And if you move the slider back and forth, you will see a larger image of him or a smaller image of him as you choose. If you have any audio problems tonight, we do suggest that you adjust your volume up or down. If you're still experiencing an echo or having difficulty hearing, we do have a call-in number, so all you need to do is click on the audio plus sign. You can switch over. If you click on telephone, it will give you a call-in number where you can call in and listen to the webinar through that, and of course still watch the slides on your screen. And throughout this webinar, as with all of our Jesse Basketball webinars, we encourage you to ask questions. Don't feel like you're interrupting Coach Jesse. You can ask a question at any time, and we will make sure he gets that question and can answer it in a timely manner as we go through the slides. So before we get started, we do ask all of our attendees to please test the chat function by typing hi to us, and that way we know that you're there and that chat is working for you. That's all from me, Coach, and I turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Coach S. And again, if you're listening to this on tape delay from our website, please just email us any questions that you might have since you won't be listening to it live. But as we get going here, tonight's webinar, as I said, it's about the AAU prep season and open gym and best things to do. So just our brief overview, we're going to talk about the AAU choices, your team that you're looking at, type of programs, location, game time, open gym, and then we'll review that, and then we'll talk to you a little bit about becoming a Jesse basketball player. All right. First of all, my name is Jesse Agel. I've been a college basketball coach for 24 years. I've had a tremendous background, and right now, as a member of Jesse Basketball, I'm an insider bringing all my years of experience to you and trying to educate you on the recruiting process, trying to give you as many tips as I can to smarten you up and help you out, and so you can make decisions, well-educated decisions, that will help you as you look at your college situation. I was an assistant at the University of Vermont, associate head coach, and then I finished up as a head coach in the Ivy League. So if you're academically inclined, I've been at some phenomenal academic institutions, and I can give you as much insight as possible. Tonight, again, we'll be talking about the AAU season. The first thing you have to do, obviously, is when you're choosing a team, is to have a great comfort level with your coach. And that's, I can't stress how important that is. There's a lot of different teams that you can choose from, especially if you're in an area that is a big metropolitan area. Excuse me. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, you might be confined, and you might end up on your friend's father's team or something like that. But if you're a good player, or if you play in a pretty good organized league, you're going to be able to find a team that fits with you, and you're going to have a choice of from 4 or 5 or maybe even more coaches, and they might approach you, or you might be approaching them. So having a comfort level, feeling relaxed, feeling that this guy's going to do best by you is going to be real important. So once you figured out the coach, I think the type of program that he's going to be coming at you is going to be very important. I guess we have a question already. Coach M. with our first question of the evening.
Hi, Coach. First question is, what should I do if I feel like the coach is favoring another player or players?
That's a great question. That can happen, and I think you just have to have a good feel. I wouldn't tie myself down to one team right away. I might go to a practice. I'd talk to players who played in that situation before. But, I know as a coach, the only thing you favor is the guys who are going to help you win games. But the AAU program should be about getting you seen and getting your name out there and really answering questions in a very positive manner to any coaches that get in touch, because as valuable as your high school coach is, your AAU coach is going to be having so much contact during the live recruiting periods of April and from July, and they're going to be with you you're going to be with them, in May and June, when your high school coach will not be, and so college coaches will be talking with them. So in terms of being favored, I really do my homework on that, because, of course, that does happen a little bit, and the guys who are good guys are just concerned about getting the best out of everyone and making sure that each player gets seen and gets an opportunity to be evaluated in the best way, shape, or form, and then giving out positive vibes. But great first question of the evening, Coach M. And again, keep those questions coming, and I think tonight will invoke a lot of questions.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. The type of program is going to be extremely important, too, because you have to look at the level of competition. If you put yourself in a program that's just at the top level and you're not that type of player, you might never have an opportunity to show who you are. Now, the NCAA bars coaches from coming to watch those AAU practices, so that's a tough situation for you, and the only time you're going to be able to get out there and perform is in set periods of time for you. So you really want to try and find a program that fits you, what competition level you're at. You don't want to go be in a weak program that's not going to get out to the major events, because the college coaches tend to go to those major events because they're trying to find the best possible players. And then, of course, the financial commitment it's a big deal. It can become very costly for you, so you have to find out what type of financial commitment there is for you. And there are some programs that are fully funded. Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, they're all involved heavily, and Reebok, they're all involved heavily in the AAU circuit. So you have to figure out, am I getting on one of those teams? And then if I am, most likely the level of competition is going to be extremely high as well. So that's something that you really have to factor in, as the financial commitment and the money that is spent. Okay, choosing an AAU team. All right, number one, location. Obviously extremely important. Now, when I coached in Vermont, we had players playing in Massachusetts. We had kids going to the state of New York to play. And when that happens, your practice is going to be few and far in between. So, choosing a location, there was one AAU team in Vermont at the time, and then they disbanded. So kids, to get to that high level of competition, felt like they needed to go outside the state to be able to get in it. Now you look at a state like Vermont, and there's so many AAU teams going on. But when you want to get to that elite AAU team, you might have to travel. So if you're going to travel in the AAU program, you have to think about what your practice responsibilities are. And again, you have to have that comfort level with a coach for them to understand that you're traveling a great distance. You might be traveling 45 minutes. You might be traveling 5 minutes. You really have no ideas and what it's going to be like for the practice. Then, as well as the games, okay? The game situation is a big thing as well, and you gotta understand if you're going to be playing games every week, then you have to understand that you're going to have to travel to those games. So maybe you don't have practices, okay? Maybe you don't have practice, but you're going to have to go to a long way to play games. So let's say your team is playing in, let's say you live in Boston, okay, and your team that you're playing for is the next closest state, which is New Hampshire, but they're playing all their games up in Vermont. So now you're talking about a pretty far away situation for you as opposed to the kids who are from New Hampshire. So you really have to factor in the location. Coach, you have another question.
Yeah, actually, somebody had a great question regarding the commitment to the travel expectations. If the team's going to travel more than I can commit to, should I still be a part of that team?
That is a great question, and that kind of puts you in that gray area. Again, going back to one of the kids I coach in Vermont, he played in a team from New York, and it was a really high elite team. They were sponsored. He was spending minimal amount of money. There were no practice responsibilities because the kids were coming from all over the place to try and get this one great team. And if you look back at that team, they had kids going to, 4 of the top 6 kids went to high major programs. So kids were kind of coming in just to play in those games, and then they went from there. So I think that's something that you need to talk about early on with a coach to see if that's going to be held against you. And then I think you have to make that decision. Is it worth the travel? Because what seems like a great idea, I love the team, this kid's really good, I saw him play, I really liked him, I went to camp with him, and we talked, and all of a sudden, stuff's going on every weekend, and you're already 2 hours of travel before you even get into that. So you have to really do a good job looking at the schedule beforehand and finding out exactly what you're going to get out of it. Coach, you have another question.
Yeah, this question is, someone feels like their coach is just kind of rolling out the ball. So what should they tell other coaches who might want to evaluate them only at the games and not at their school?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, looking back at that same team I was just talking about, that team really rolled out the ball. They didn't have any plays. Their play was kind of run and go get it. And then there's some teams, Coach M, great question, but there's some teams where everything is so organized, but it's not well coached. So it doesn't look good. Kids are so fearful of not running the plays correctly that they're just not playing and enjoying themselves. Because, the reality of it is the AAU programs, most of them, it's really it gets away from a lot of the structure. So you are running up and down quite a bit. I think the best teams have kind of, they have a little bit of both. They have that structure and they have the lack of structure. But, in terms of someone who's recruiting you, I wouldn't get that worried because, talent is gonna pop out now. There's, if you look at like a structured organization like a Princeton or a Denver, which came from that same situation, they're looking for skilled basketball players, and you can see that skill level, whether they're running around up and down or not. And, I look at the Jersey Shore Warriors AAU team. They run a lot of that Princeton type of basketball stuff with the great Tony Sagona, who's been coaching them for years and has had some phenomenal players. You watch them, you go to a game like that, you always know what you're going to get. You're going to get a team, an AAU team that's well coached. But again, you look back at the location, practice responsibilities, the travel expectations. There's a tremendous amount of travel, and there's a tremendous amount of commitment for practice responsibilities. So I think that's a big thing. So I think, that goes back, right up there, kind of leads into our pickup versus organized situation. There's room for both of them. I think the best is a little bit of both.
Well, that goes into another question that we just had too, and somebody was asking a great question here is, what are the coaches actually looking for in a player? One that is more structured AAU, who is in a more structured AAU team or not? So
no, it is a great question, Coach. It really, it's so much about talent, and I think, I know that the skill level is going to show up no matter what's going on. The talent level is going to show up. I think the kids spend a lot more time worrying about that, just like they do, you guys out there, all you young ladies and young guys, you're so concerned about doing the right things, and winning the game is so important, and you're competitive. As a college coach, whether you win the game or not is not the most important thing. It's how you compete. It's so many more things other than the winning of the game, and worrying about running the play correctly or the pickup part, whether it's a pickup game and the game's kind of crazy. And I think that just builds in a lot of excuses, Coach, for kids. And I think you should just stay away from that and just go out and have fun. And hopefully you did a great job deciding on what type of team you're going to play on, and what type of coach you're going to play for, and the rest of it will take care of itself.
Which goes right into another question. Somebody asked if, do you feel that the more that they score, the more they're going to get noticed?
Well, everybody likes someone who can score. Everybody's looking for someone who can make shots. I think, I look back to when I first started out going to camp, way back even before, Rob Kennedy took over the East Coast in recruiting, being out at 5-star, and we used to get a list. And believe it or not, everybody, there were no names, there were no jerseys, there was nothing. It was just a list of, this is the team, this is the height, and this is the kid's name. And there was no distinguishing marks on each person. I was standing by Coach Dean, and every time someone made a shot, he said to me, and it was my first time recruiting, so it was a daunting situation. I was trying to stand by the camp coach to hear the kid's name. And the camp coach didn't even know the kids' names. Every time someone made a shot, he said to me, "Who was that?" I had no idea, but it was a great lesson for me that anybody who made a shot was a valuable commodity, and you should know every kid who can make a shot. So, yes, scoring is extremely important, but it's not the only thing. Are you scoring at the expense of others? Are you shooting every time you touch the ball? Because some kids shoot because they can't do anything else. They're afraid they're going to turn it over. So obviously the ability to score in the right way, you look at Carmelo Anthony. I was reading something today about saying that he's a ball hog and how his coach was defending him. What he does, no one else can do. So I think you need to do what you do best. So I think that's the best answer. But thanks, Coach. Another great question. Yep.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah. Whoops. All right. Game time. It's game time. What are going to be the most important things for you when you're playing in AAU basketball so you can shine the best? How you can separate yourself from the competition that's out there. And number one is your attitude. Your attitude is going to be extremely important. No bad faces. Just stay upbeat all the time. And if you look at all 5 of these things, it's all about, the coachability, who you are, your work ethic, and the type of person you are. Just remember, this is the first time in many cases that there's going to be any interaction between you and the coaches that are recruiting you. If you're going out there and the coach has never seen you play before and your attitude is poor, that could get you struck right off the list. So you never want your attitude to get in the way. You can be upbeat. You don't have to be loud. I've coached great players who were leaders who were quiet, great players who were leaders who didn't say anything. They let their play speak for themselves. But attitude's important. Being a team player. Now, if you're a shooter, don't not shoot, okay? But you don't just be an individual player all the time. Show your complete game. I think that's really, really important, and understanding of the game, the basketball IQ, and not being an individual player. Being a team guy out there. Someone falls down, pick them up. Make the extra pass. Your big guy runs the floor, drop it off to him. 2-on-1, you don't have to score every time. And if you can score, that again, that's a great skill, but so is passing. Okay? I remember going to watch a kid play a couple summers ago, and I had seen him play pickup, and he was a great shooter, and then he got into the games, and he never shot the ball. And I was sitting next to a coach who was recruiting a couple other kids on his team, and he had seen things. He had seen some AAU films from the team that he was playing on. He said, "Oh, no, that kid can really shoot. He can really play." And I was like, that's a great thing. And that coach ended up taking all three of those players, and he was playing on the last Monday in April for Michigan. So he knew what he was talking about. So he was a team player when he got out there. I had no idea that he was a point guard. I thought he was more of a scoring guard, but he really, over time, showed everything that he could do. Again, working hard. There's no substitute for how hard you have to work out there. As a college coach, what you want to do is, I always remember Don Shula, the great football coach of the Miami Dolphins, said, if you can do it once, my job's going to make you to be able to do it time and time again. But you don't want to quit. Something bad happens, your coachability out there, you don't want to miss a shot and then start jogging back, or just be upset and put your hands up and complain and doing all those things. Just continue to work hard, because as hard as you work in AAU, as hard as you work for your high school coach, it's going to be a huge step up if you get to the next level. Coach M, you have another question for me?
Yeah, actually, it goes to everything that's on this slide here. It has a little bit of everything. But so, what is the best way for them to find out what the coaches are coming to the gym and looking for exactly?
That is a good question. Ask them. See, the thing, I think that it's as simple as that, but it's just such a great question. I know myself, I've gone to gyms, and the coach will say, well, what do you want to see? I said, do whatever you normally do. I don't want to take them out of their comfort level. I want to see them perform. Just like in the NFL Combine, all those guys already know exactly what's going to be tested on them. So they can prepare for it. So I don't want to come in there and say, well, do this, do that. And actually, it's an NCAA violation to go in and organize the workout itself. So it's just important that you communicate with the coach before he gets there and say, hey, I'm so excited. What's going on? Let me know. Let me know what you want to see. But again, attitude is huge. Got to have a great attitude. Individual play, you can be a great individual player, but be a team player, and then work hard, obviously. There's no substitute for that. And then coachability. Have a good rapport with your coach. If he diagrams a play, if there's a special situation at the end, he is going to come out and diagram something, and the guy might be a great coach, like John Carroll, who coaches Celtics, coaches AAU. I intently watch him. I remember being in Indianapolis watching a timeout with 2 seconds left, and his team came out of the huddle, and he ran a play for young Alex Murphy, who's at Duke right now. It was an unbelievable out-of-bounds play, which I stuck in my back pocket to use as a college coach myself. But some coaches don't have that, and you go out there and you don't run the play correctly because you kind of freelance, and you don't exactly know what he wanted, and you didn't pay attention. And those are things coaches are actually all looking for. So being able to be coached is really, really important. So pay attention, have that great attitude, and everything else will really take care of itself. Okay, now we're going to get to the open gym part.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And please keep asking questions. And again, if you're listening to this on tape delay, as they say, please send us any questions, and we'll kind of go back and forth and walk you through tonight's webinar. We now get to our last part, which is the open gym. You have a great weekend playing, and the coach calls you up and says, young lady, I want to come in and watch you play in your gym. And that's one thing, or getting the word out to college coaches that you're going to be having open gyms. And I think today with the network of the internet and email and all, Facebook, the word really does get out when open gyms are going on. If you're playing in a good program, your coach will have already sent out all the dates that you're going to be having open gym and the times. And if the person is really clued in with other coaches in the area, they'll have it staggered where coaches can go from one open gym to the next and see 5 or 6 open gyms in a day or in an evening. And believe me, coaches want to be able to do that. So that's really smart about how you go about getting the word out. If it's just an individual, then it's a different situation where you need to be able to get the word out. Coaches are going to be getting in contact with you talk to your high school coach, and put something together. Coach M, another question.
Yeah, it's a great question about this open gym. If a player, the player wants to know if it's going to hurt them if they were playing out of position on their AAU team because they're a wing player due to their size they play on the inside in the AAU games. Would it be the same in the open gym if they were to play a different position? They're saying basically would that be hurting them as well?
No, it's interesting because first of all, any kid with size who, first of all big kids want to be wing guys, okay? So we all, as a coach, you know that going through. And I always felt like if our big kids could shoot and spread the floor, and now now it's become in vogue. Everybody wants, as they call it, the stretch four to be able to step out and shoot. So again, we get back to shooting, how important it is. But don't worry about playing out of position on your AAU team because chances are you're going to be playing out of position on your high school team, and you will not get to that perfect spot until you get to college. And I always remember, talking to a young man, one of my first recruits, one of my favorite people in the world when I was recruiting him. He was 6'8", he was a stud, he was tremendous around the hoop, but he wanted to play on the wing, and he wanted to shoot threes. And believe me, I had this conversation with many 6'8", 6'9" guys. And I said, great, you want to shoot threes? Make them. It's as simple as that. You make them, you can shoot them. You can't make them, don't shoot them. Because everybody wants to play. And then another thing is, and don't get wrapped up in this, getting off the topic a little bit, but more towards answering your question. All you want to do is play. And you don't want to say to a coach, ask you, what position are you? If I was a coach and I'm sitting in your house and I say, what position are you? Where I'm on the phone and I ask you that question. And you say, well, I'm a wing. You know what I am? I'm a basketball player. That's what you should say. I can play inside. I can play outside. I'm confident in my perimeter game. I can play inside, whatever you need me to do. That's what the coach wants to hear you say, and that's what you need to say, and you have to have that in your mind because, believe me, if you're a big and you can step out and shoot it, you'll be stepping out and shooting it. Again, the coach wants guys who can make threes because threes more than two, and threes beat twos every single time, but it has a lot to do with the percentage. So that's really important. In
Great.
terms
Thanks,
of,
Coach.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Again, when you organize in the open gym is important. To individualize it, you might just go in and have a shooting workout. And again, a couple of point guards that I recruited, I went in and all they did was have individual workouts. They did tons of shooting things, some ball handling stuff to start, and there's so much you can do, obviously, if the young man has a partner or has a coach working out. I think that you should be smart to, have somebody come in there and help out, and you can do a good job with that. And then if it's a team workout, you're probably going to have something that's organized. Some coaches have stuff where, I'll see, 5 young ladies at one end, 5 at another. They might be doing some mic-in drills. They might be doing some footwork stuff, and then they'll come together and play. So, however you want to organize it, I think is important. But, again, to answer that other question, communicate with the coaches that are coming in. And, obviously, you can't always answer everything. Coach M, you have another question?
Yes. Actually, do you think doing an individual workout is a smart idea?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters one way or another, but in an individual workout, it seems more personalized. You might have a team workout during the day, and a coach can't get there. Go back and have a workout at night. There's only so many times you can get out in front of a coach. And believe me, if a coach is coming in to watch you work out and you're doing it individually, you're kind of growing that bond. So I think that's always important. The more you can get to know that coach, the more the coach gets to know you, the more comfortable each one of you are going to be with each other. So again, just to review what we've gone over, you want to play to your strengths all the time. If you're a shooter, shoot the ball. If you can't shoot, don't start saying, well, I'm going to show him I can shoot, because chances are you'll show him you can't. Be accommodating. Time is very, very tight for all the college coaches out there. So they might come in, they only be able to see you play on a certain time. make sure that you're available for them. Okay, and of course, lastly, it's really important to have fun while you're doing this, because if you're not having fun, chances are you're going to get a little bit nervous, and you're going to put so much pressure on yourself to perform that it's going to hurt your performance. Okay, again, if you have any other questions, hit the chat box and ask one. And I believe we have one more question as we're coming to an end, Coach.
Yes, it's a great question at that, too. Somebody said, and to your prevail over here, that I got a great deal of information from you tonight, and can I listen to this anywhere again? And what if I have more questions later on?
Yep, and it is a good question, and obviously someone just jumped on a little bit late, but again, we will post this. You might have found some great information out, as you said, that you want your parents to listen to, and listen to this, and you missed it, and Dad, I can't believe you weren't here, and so on and so forth. Everyone's schedule's all over the place. We will post exactly what we just talked about, and you'll have a chance to re-listen to it, or your folks might have a chance to hear it for the first time. If you have a question and you're one of our members, just hit the Ask Jesse button on the player site, and we'll be more than happy to go over anything that we talked about or any questions that were not asked that you want answered. So another great question, Coach M. A lot of great questions tonight from everybody. It's great. And again, we're Jesse Basketball. We're a personalized recruiting service. We're your personalized recruiting coach. You'll have unlimited web access to us. We're going to have a free introductory webinar on Monday going over our site, jessebasketball.com, Jesse basketball.com, and take a chance and get online there and look around, and it's going to be something that I think can really help separate you from your competition. So if you want to learn more about us, go to the site and sign up and become one of us. So just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Tremendous questions, and we look forward to seeing everybody on Monday night at 9 for a look around Jesse Basketball. Thank you and good night.